The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. As Jesus passed by, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" Jesus answered, "Neither he nor his parents sinned. It is so that the works of God might be made visible through him. We have to do the works of the one who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world." When he had said this, he spat on the ground and made clay with the saliva, and smeared the clay on his eyes, and said to him, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam," which means sent. So he went and washed and came back able to see. His neighbors and those who had seen him earlier as a beggar said, "Isn't this the one who used to sit and beg?" Some said it is, but others said, "No, he just looks like him." So he said, "I am." So they said to him, "How were your eyes opened?" He replied, "The man called Jesus made clay and anointed my eyes and told me, 'Go to Siloam and wash.' So I went there and washed and was able to see." And they said to him, "Where is he?" He said, "I don't know." They brought the one who was once blind to the Pharisees. Now Jesus had made clay and opened his eyes on a Sabbath. So then the Pharisees also asked him how he was able to see. He said to them, "He put clay on my eyes and I washed, and now I can see." So some of the Pharisees said, "This man is not from God, because he does not keep the Sabbath." But others said, "How can a sinful man do such signs?" And there was a division among them. So they said to the blind man again, "What do you have to say about him, since he opened your eyes?" He said, "He is a prophet." Now the Jews did not believe that he had been blind and gained his sight until they summoned the parents of the one who had gained his sight. They asked them, "Is this your son, who you say was born blind? How does he now see?" His parents answered and said, "We know that this is our son, and that he was born blind. We do not know how he sees now, nor do we know who opened his eyes. Ask him. He is of age. He can speak for himself." His parents said this because they were afraid of the Jews, for the Jews had already agreed that if anyone acknowledged him as the Christ, he would be expelled from the synagogue. For this reason, his parents said, "He is of age. Question him." So a second time they called the man who had been blind and said to him, "Give God the praise. We know that this man is a sinner." He replied, "If he is a sinner, I do not know. One thing I do know is that I was blind, and now I see." So they said to him, "What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?" He answered them, "I told you already, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it all again? Do you want to become his disciples too?" They ridiculed him and said, "You are that man's disciple. We are disciples of Moses. We know that God spoke to Moses, but we do not know where this one is from." The man answered and said to them, "This is what is so amazing, that you do not know where he is from. Yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners, but if one is devout and does his will, he listens to him. It is unheard of that anyone ever opened the eyes of a person born blind. If this man were not from God, he would not be able to do anything." They answered and said to him, "You were born totally in sin, and you are trying to teach us." Then they threw him out. When Jesus heard that they had thrown him out, he found him and said, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" He answered, "Who is he, sir, that I may believe in him?" Jesus said to him, "You have seen him, and the one speaking with you is he." He said, "I do believe, Lord," and he worshiped him. Then Jesus said, "I came into this world for judgment, so that those who do not see might see, and those who do see might become blind." Some of the Pharisees who were with him heard this, and they said to him, "Surely we are not also blind, are we?" Jesus said to them, "If you are blind, you would have no sin. But now you are saying, we see, so your sin remains. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
This is a flashlight that works in two ways. Used like this, it's just an ordinary flashlight. Shines a beam of light. It can light a single spot. If you open it like this, it becomes a lantern. It shines light in all directions. It can be used to light a small area. The Pharisees shined light like a flashlight. They shined light on a single spot. That light, that spot was the law. Anything outside that spot was in darkness. For the Pharisees, that meant it was sinful. As the Pharisees saw it, the law was very clear. You are to keep holy the Sabbath. That means you don't do any work. Spitting on the ground and making mud was considered work. It didn't matter that the man born blind was healed. Jesus worked on the Sabbath, and according to the Pharisees, that made him a sinner. And they tried to convince the man born blind to see Jesus that way too. Jesus shined light like a lantern. He shined it in all directions. He helped us to see that God is everywhere. God is in the law, but God is more than the law, much more. Any act of love is an act of God, because God is love. To heal the man born blind was an act of love. That made it an act of God. The man had suffered all his life. Love would not allow him to suffer one more day. To heal him was an act of God's love. By healing the man born blind, Jesus is challenging all of us to widen our view. God is not bound by our limits. In the reading from Exodus, David was considered insignificant. His family didn't even invite him to the sacrifice. God saw in David the King of Israel. And those who think they know God's plan are really blind. Widening our view will allow us to see that Jesus is in our midst. Nothing falls outside of God's love. The man born blind was told to go and wash. We are told to cooperate with God's grace. That makes us channels of God's love in our world.